Seoul was wrapped in a soft, late winter haze when the first whispers began circulating across Cheongdam-dong. The narrow streets around Apgujeong were unusually alive for a weekday morning, with reporters clustering near the glass front entrance of Starship Entertainment. Camera lenses glinted under the pale February sun. Microphone flags pointed forward like small, restless birds, all waiting for a single confirmation that could change the dynamics of the Korean entertainment world. The air carried a distinctive chill that always precedes a breaking story, one that no one wanted to miss, one that everyone secretly hoped was true. Rumors had been swirling through fan communities for days. But this time there was something different, something heavier. Something that made even veteran reporters tighten their scarves and hold their breath. A love story, long hidden in the shade of busy schedules and carefully protected privacy, was finally ready to step into the light. Behind those doors, the world's curiosity centered on one of the most unexpected yet strangely harmonious pairings, Jang Won-young, the luminous young idol who had grown into a global fashion muse, and Kai, the legendary performer whose artistry had defined an entire era of K-pop. For 3 years, they had moved in the same orbit, occasionally brushing paths in ways too subtle to make headlines but too warm to ignore once the pieces were revisited. Fans only sensed flickers, tiny echoes of something unspoken, yet none could have predicted that the truth had been quietly breathing beneath their interactions all along. And now, in the heart of Seoul, after years of speculation, admiration, and gentle secrecy, the moment of revelation had arrived. Their journey began not under neon lights or in a studio, but in the city of love, Paris, during the unforgettable fashion season of 2021. Grand Palais Éphémère, transformed into a world of sparkling silhouettes and whispered elegance, hummed with the energy of haute couture. It was Won-young's first major European fashion event, a momentous debut for a girl who had grown used to cameras but not yet to the grandeur of Parisian runways. Kai, already established as a global ambassador, carried himself with the composed grace of someone who understood both the spotlight and the silence behind it. Their first meeting was simple, a brief introduction backstage, a polite bow, an exchanged smile. Nothing extraordinary to the outside world. Yet when the night sky opened unexpectedly and rain poured over the Seine, Kai lightly tilted his umbrella to shield both of them as they crossed a cobblestone path toward their vehicles. It was a gesture so small that neither the paparazzi nor the fans noticed. But for the two at the center of it, something shifted quietly, like the first drop of ink marking the beginning of a long letter. Over the months that followed, their paths crossed again in places that offered neither privacy nor credence. At the 2021 Mama backstage corridor, cameras caught only their individual glamour. Staff members later recalled how the two stood side by side in the narrow waiting hall, exchanging soft conversation as assistants rushed around them. They looked unexpectedly comfortable together, one stylist said, noting that their interaction lacked the stiffness typical of celebrities meeting for the first time. It was a familiarity without explanation, a warmth without stage direction. By early 2022, those meetings had accumulated into a thread of connection, thin, quiet, but undeniably present. At Coke's Artium, during a collaborative luxury brand showcase, Won-young had let out more brief cough while waiting for her cue. Before her manager could react, Kai handed her a neatly folded tissue from his pocket, his expression soft and instinctive rather than performative. The gesture was caught on a fan's camera, but because his hand and hers barely overlapped in the frame, the moment went unnoticed by the masses. Yet staff who witnessed it later remarked that something about the timing and gentleness didn't feel random, it felt like someone who had been paying attention for longer than a few minutes. Later that spring, both were spotted at Café D Street in Hanam-dong, a quiet boutique cafe known for its strong privacy measures. Did not sit together. In fact, they sat several tables apart, far enough to appear unconnected but close enough to sense the invisible line that tied them. At that time, fans dismissed it as coincidence. Only with hindsight did people realize that fate often works in whispers before it speaks out loud. By the time Paris Fashion Week returned in 2023, Won-young's confidence had blossomed into something radiant. She moved through the runway halls with the poise of a seasoned muse. When Kai unexpectedly arrived at the same event, due to an 11th-hour brand request, those who observed from afar claimed the energy around them shifted the moment they made eye contact. After the show, when the Eiffel Tower's evening lights washed the plaza in warm gold, seen talking beneath the sweeping shadows of the tower. No dramatic gestures. No lingering touches. Only two people standing in a pocket of calm in the middle of Paris' electric night. A blurry photograph taken from across the street showed them in soft silhouette, heads slightly leaned toward each other. Fans could not confirm their identities then. But now that image has resurfaced with an entirely new meaning. The decisive turning point of their quiet 3-year journey came during a private autumn shoot on Jeju Island in late 2023. The set was built near Seopjikaji, where the sea glittered like sheets of sapphire under the slanted afternoon sun. Won Young, dressed in a flowing cream dress that danced with a breeze, was attempting to step down the uneven volcanic rocks when she hesitated. Kai, standing beside her for the shoot, extended a steadying hand. Not a practiced gesture of an idol posing for a camera, but the instinctive touch of someone who feared she might slip. A staff member later described the atmosphere as unusually gentle, recalling that even after Kai helped her down, her eyes lingered as if finishing a sentence without words. A 4-second behind-the-scenes clip of that moment, originally intended for internal reference, eventually leaked. Although the clip was short and discreet, felt intimate enough that fans replayed it thousands of times, viewing illuminating details they hadn't noticed before: the quiet smile on her lips, the protective tilt of his head, synchronized exhale of two people who seemed to know each other's rhythms a little too well. After that Jeju moment, speculation intensified. When a passerby captured the pair walking under a shared umbrella on a snowy evening in Apgujeong Rodeo Street, the internet erupted. But no matter how loud the rumors grew, companies, Starship Entertainment and SM Entertainment, maintained absolute silence, neither confirming nor denying. Silence stretched across weeks, then months, like a curtain drawn over a stage before the spotlight sweeps across it. And then, on the morning of February 14th, Valentine's Day, almost poetically chosen, a sudden alert appeared across every major outlet. Starship Entertainment released the first official statement, with careful sincerity yet unmistakable clarity. After careful confirmation, we state that Jang Won-young and Kai have been getting to know each other with positive feelings over the past years. They recently began a committed relationship. We ask for warm support. Minutes later, SM Entertainment mirrored the announcement with a harmonious tone of validation. Kai and Jang Won-young have maintained a respectful and caring bond since 2021. They are now officially in a relationship. Please continue to support their private and professional lives. And just like that, the quiet bond that had lived in the shadows of 3 long years burst into the open. Not through scandals or paparazzi ambushes. Through dignified honesty, a love confirmed by those who had protected it the longest. Outside the Starship building, reporters lifted their cameras with renewed urgency as fans began flooding the streets. Some crying, some laughing, all electrified by the unexpected truth. Online platforms surged, hashtags igniting like fireworks, and people around the world paused to absorb a revelation that felt simultaneously shocking and inevitable. 3 years. 3 years of silent affection, unlikely meetings, exchanged glances, and moments too soft to be scripted. 3 years of connection that refused to fade. And now, at last, the world was allowed to see what had bloomed in the quiet. Statements from Starship and SM Entertainment were finally released into the world. The effect was immediate, thunderous, strangely beautiful. Within minutes, notifications exploded across phones in Seoul, Tokyo, Bangkok, New York, and Manila, pulling millions of fans into a moment they had never expected to witness. It felt as though the entire global entertainment community took a collective, astonished breath. The reaction wasn't chaotic in the way scandals usually are. Instead, it carried a raw and overwhelming tenderness, an outpouring of emotion that blended disbelief with admiration. For once, the news cycle was not chasing controversy or damage control. It was chasing love. Korean fans were the first to flood social platforms, posting messages that wavered between joyful shock and heartfelt essays about how extraordinary it was to see 2 stars, both beloved, both intensely private, choose honesty over concealment. One fan wrote, "They grew quietly, just like real people do," a line that quickly went viral. Another posted a compilation video capturing moments from the past 3 years: the Paris umbrella, the Mama corridor glance, the Jeju steadying hand. Video was set to a soft piano track, and within an hour it had reached over 1 million views. Comments poured in from around the world. Fans weren't fighting or arguing. They were celebrating. Witnessing a constellation they had never expected to align. International audiences reacted in waves, first stunned stillness, then rapid-fire excitement. Japanese fans trended hashtags expressing admiration for their gentleness. Southeast Asian fans created fan art portraying the couple under the Eiffel Tower or walking along Jeju's coastline. Western outlets, fascinated by the subtlety of the relationship's evolution, features comparing the quiet romance to the soft-focus elegance of a classic film. One magazine editorial declared, "Industry of noise. Their love grew in silence, and emerged stronger for it." It was a rare instance where culture reporters around the world seemed united in sincerity. As the day progressed, conversations shifted from shock to analysis. History insiders offered insight into why this pairing felt unexpectedly harmonious. Kai, years of experience behind him, had cultivated a reputation for being disciplined, warm, and emotionally grounded. One young, despite her youth, elegance and maturity that transcended her age, graceful, thoughtful, and impossibly radiant. Together, represented two different eras of K-pop, colliding not in spectacle, but in quiet understanding. A music video director who had previously worked with Kai commented anonymously, "He has always been drawn to sincerity. You can sense he values stability. Him with someone who carries that same quiet sincerity, it makes sense." A fashion producer who had worked with Won Young added, "As an old soul gentleness. It doesn't surprise me that someone like him found comfort in that." The more details emerged from staff accounts, always carefully worded, always respectful, the clearer it became how they had managed to keep their bond hidden for so long. They rarely met in flashy places. They avoided restaurants with obvious entrances, avoided lounges frequented by celebrities, avoided any setting that could betray even the faintest hint of recognition. According to a source familiar with their quiet outings, some of their few private moments together happened early in the morning at Seongsu-dong's tucked-away tea houses, where the only sound came from the soft rustle of pages and the clink of ceramic cups. Other times, they would walk around Olympic Park at dawn, wearing caps and masks, blending into the stillness before the crowds arrived. They didn't speak much on those walks, said. Instead, they enjoyed the warmth of simply existing side by side, sharing gentle conversation through glances rather than words. Their communication style reflected the same softness. A manager disclosed that they often exchanged emojis rather than full messages, tiny digital symbols carrying layered meaning only the two of them understood. A cherry blossom on a stressful day. All umbrella emoji when the forecast predicted rain. A crescent moon when one of them was wrapping up late-night practice. It was never dramatic, the manager said. It was steady, patient, almost like watching two people grow toward each other instead of rushing into something. That slow-burning devotion is why fans embrace their story with such warmth. For years, the entertainment industry has been dominated by fast-paced narratives, relationships announced and broken within months, rumors flaring and disappearing like sparks. But this was different. It was a love that stretched itself across seasons, quietly beneath the surface of two hectic careers. Felt real because it grew in the spaces between schedules, in tiny gestures hidden from the public eye. It's too intimate for cameras to capture even if they tried. People saw themselves in that kind of love, not the dramatic fireworks of instant passion, but the long, steady glow of something earned slowly. And still, public imagination reached further. How did it feel for them, stepping into the open after so much time spent hiding in the shadows? What private conversations led to the decision to finally confirm their relationship? Did they worry about the public's reaction? Or did they trust that the sincerity of their journey would shield them? These were questions no press release could answer. Yet fans speculated endlessly, crafting gentle theories filled with affection. One theory suggested that it was the Jeju Island moment, the soft, reflexive way Kai studied Won Young, that made them realize they could no longer keep something so pure contained. Another theory pointed to the Paris reunion. The Eiffel Tower's golden light may have rekindled something they had both been trying to ignore. As days passed, something extraordinary happened. Instead of fading, the world's fascination deepened. Not through obsession, through genuine admiration. The couple's story began to symbolize more than romance. It symbolized the power of patience and emotional maturity. Commentators praised the couple's choice to nurture their connection away from public scrutiny. Fans noted that the 3-year timeline reflected a kind of emotional resilience rarely seen in the industry. Even non-fans found themselves rooting for them. To the serenity of a love built at its own pace. Touched by external chaos, the entertainment agencies, having issued their official confirmations, maintained a dignified silence afterward. Allowed the narrative to unfold naturally, trusting fans to respond with empathy rather than frenzy. Starship emphasized that Jang would continue focusing on her artistic and fashion endeavors, while SM reiterated that Kai remained committed to his music and performance projects. Both agencies requested privacy, not defensively, but respectfully, as if acknowledging that this romance had already survived so much public distance that the world could afford to offer them space now. In the midst of the global commotion, stars continued with their schedules. Jang attended a promotional fashion event in Gangnam, where her calm poise suggested not confidence in the spotlight, but comfort in the truth finally revealed. Seen leaving a dance rehearsal studio, face covered by a mask, but his relaxed posture hinted at a man who had stopped carrying a secret on his shoulders. They did not appear together publicly, perhaps by choice, perhaps by caution, yet something felt unmistakably different now. They no longer walked in separate shadows. Snow arrived earlier than expected that week. In Seoul, delicate flakes drifted over rooftops and across quiet streets, softening the edges of buildings and illuminating the city with a gentle shimmer. Where near Hanam-dong, Jang stepped out of a van after a late-night schedule, pausing for a moment as the snow settled onto her coat. At nearly the same time, across the river in Nonhyeon, Kai exited his practice room, tilting his face upward as if greeting the night sky. Two people standing apart, yet united under the same snowfall. They were not together physically, but their presence seemed connected, as though each silently acknowledged the warmth of knowing the other was out there, somewhere, under the same white sky. That is what made their love so moving. It was not defined by grand gestures or public declarations. It was shaped by small promises, quiet mornings, shared glances, and 3 patient years of choosing each other in ways no one else could see. And when they finally stepped into the light, the world welcomed that love not because it was dramatic, because it was real. 3 years of quiet bonding had become a truth spoken aloud. A truth the world could now hold gently in its hands. And that would continue to shine, softly, steadily, beautifully, in the days to come.